you lied to me. You said you hated me and you hated my show, yet here you are once again to tickle your ears and to realize that when it comes to being entertained, I am the Russell Crowe of the airwaves, as played by Maximus in Gladiator. In this life or the next, you will find yourself listening to me. I met a young lady, which I often do, but this time it wasn't in person. It was by way of the Hollywood Dreams International Film Festival. And she had submitted a film that I had a chance to watch. And I said, hey, is there a chance I can get her on my show? Because if I can, my life will be complete. So once this show is finished, folks, I will probably take a knife and cut my own throat because I will have reached the apex, the zenith, the top of anything I ever could have been. I only ask that you take the blood you find on the floor, put it into jars, and send it to orphan kids so their lives can be blessed with my presence. Welcome to the show, the great Andi Morrow. Here she is. Woo! Hey, little less. Hey, you in the front row, sit down. All right. Okay, thank you. That's nice. You're great. She's here. Andi,
hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. That was the grandest intro I've ever had on a podcast.
Oh, you've never been brought to the stage to receive an AOF award then, because it will be much grander. And I like what I saw in your film.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for watching the film.
Well, if you can have that same opinion 45 minutes from now, I know I did something good in the world. If you don't, hey, we tried. Nobody got hurt. Where did the title for the film come from? Pusher.
It came from the idea, the concept of pushing is kind of one that's used a lot in terms of drug use, and people who sell drugs, they're oftentimes called pushers. They push drugs onto people. And I was playing with that idea because, the film is about someone selling drugs, but I also liked the concept, the idea that everybody in a community is pushing a different thing, a different idea. They've got the people who are pushing religion, people who are pushing drugs, people who are pushing education, friendship, love, whatever it is. Like, everybody's got some kind of concept that they want to push on everybody else around them.
Well, I figured that from the religious part, but I have to tell you, I am not a fan of pornography.
Okay.
But I do understand it. Now, let me tell you how it applies to you. In the 1970s, VHS began to be overtaken by, the theaters began to be overtaken by VHS and Betamax and all that stuff. But before that, if you have a little age on you, you would see men lined up outside these stores and these movie theaters, and they were so excited and grungy and dirty. But there was a passion about what they were going to be able to do to get that fulfillment of that desire they had. Now, I'm a little upset with you because you've already lied to me and I just met you.
Oh, yeah? How's
and
that?
You've exposed me to my pornographic past because in this film, there's a scene where your grandmother asks you, are you going to sing for us today? You haven't sung in so long. Now, I have a theory on talent. And I know I'm not wrong with you. When someone is talented, they're not just talented in one place. So as I sat through the rest of that film, like a 72-year-old man outside a porn theater in 1971 New York, Times Square, excited and dirty. He's waiting for
a song.
Filth, and I'm waiting for your song. I need to hear your voice. And you screwed me out of it. I'm sitting there going, man, you know what? She's just like everybody else. Now, actually, this is the thing. Now, I'm still talking. You settle down, little soldier.
Okay.
Because you got me. You got me with that. And that is a device. I wanted to say trick, but that is a device that only the most incredible films use. At this young age, where did you develop the knowledge of using tools such as that?
I guess from reading a lot of scripts and reading a lot of books growing up, and
Wrong.
I mean,
I'll
just
tell the, excuse me,
experience.
the show's called Interius. We're going to get right. This is our come to Jesus moment. What I'm suggesting is that there's something deeper about you and your ability to tell story. Because I watch thousands of movies a year. That's not in question for the last 17 years. And I'm thrilled to do it every day. I've got 3 screens operating simultaneously. And it's great. But that device you used, it's painful to me because it meant that I cared about your character.
Yeah.
And because she was introduced to me in such an odd and negative way, to see her now lifting up her angelic voice to the heavens would have been more than I could stand. So thank you for denying me, much like most other women in my life. The only thing I want from them. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. I will continue to deny everyone at all times. I had a couple other people bring that up actually, and I don't know that I consciously made the choice.
Obviously
did.
Obviously you did.
I knew that I saw it in a symbolic way of like, it's sad that she has lost her voice, and it's representative of so much other things in her life.
Yeah.
And so I don't think she would sing. And then I thought, maybe one day I'll continue the story and she'll get back into singing.
Now, let me tell you where this goes off the rail, because I'm not done yet. I'm still really pissed off. As you turn your camera on so we can do this interview, I look in the room, and on the wall is a guitar, and in front of it is a microphone. And I'm going, man, I don't want to put anybody on the spot. I don't want any trouble, but knowing who I am and how I act, it's going to come up. So just be ready for that. Don't be upset when I bring it to your attention.
Okay, fair.
All right. Is that fair?
That's fair.
The concept of, for me, part of the film was that at the crossroads she's at, from my perspective, I've watched it a couple times. I did not, and I still don't, in the third watching, didn't think she'd be going to a church. And after the scene in the liquor store with the pregnant girl, which I found to be riveting, not just from the generosity of your character putting the dollar bill on the counter. I won't spoil the film, but I will talk about some of the elements. But there's a sensuality there, there's a power there, and the power is traded back and forth. And I just think that it's intrinsic. That type of storyteller is intrinsic to people who truly understand story.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult, because people who understand story have usually suffered. Because everyone else is on kind of a surface level, and they don't understand the dichotomies that are going on in a certain situation.
Yeah.
And they definitely don't get the deeper level of something. And this is important for later on in the interview, and you'll see. But where do you get that depth?
I've always been drawn to stories, always, since the youngest memories I have. I remembered loving stories and being so enthralled in them and wanting to be a part of telling them. And I've always been drawn to people's stories, like what kind of life everyone else lives. And I've always been super empathic. So if I hear a story and somebody tells me a story about themselves, I will feel what they're feeling, which it helps me in this industry in general, because I feel like I can connect with people on a deeper level. But sometimes I feel like I just have this deep inner world inside me that is always like kind of bittersweet. It's painful, but it's also really beautiful.
Now you're talking my language, because I eat that pain for breakfast in the morning.
Yeah. It's it's kind of like, it's the yin and the yang. It's life and death. It's conscious living, conscious dying. It's all happening at the same time.
In the words of the great Gary Oldman, I'd like to compliment you by saying this, and please do not be offended when I do it.
Okay.
And say it. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
See, a lot of my films are stories about women. heartfelt, suffering, powerful women that don't know they're suffering or that they're powerful until it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just been a really cool
That's kind of
thing.
how women live their lives.
You know, I'm beginning to understand and believe that completely and totally.
Yeah. I mean, all the women I know in my life don't think that they're strong, but they're the strongest people that I know.
You know,
And they're like, no, I'm not strong, but they're so humble about it and so loving and generous. But they go through so much and they carry it all on their shoulders for everybody.
yeah, but you know, is that good? Is that
No, it's definitely sometimes
thank
not
you. So
good.
this is something, and you know what? Maybe because I like doing things in segments.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've gotten a few comments from people. They said, "Man, I love your show, but it's all over the place." And it says, "Because I've lost half my mind when I was fighting in the war in '47." And they don't want to hear about that. See? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Didn't know you were. I'm sorry. Screw you. But it's scatological for a reason. And that's because as I'm talking to you, and as to all my guests, I begin to discover things about them. And since we're limited in the time that we have together, and this might be our really only experience together in this universe, I'd like to honor it by at least trying to get as much juice out of the fruit that I can.
Yeah.
Without squeezing too hard. It's like my third ex-wife used to say, "Why are you still here?" And then I would respond immediately with, "Oh my God, I thought you were dead."
Oh, God.
And then that would start a big argument. Next thing you know, let's get divorced. I'm like, I thought we were divorced. Jeez. Please don't laugh at this. When you talk about women, you know, I don't want to name, but can you tell me about the strongest woman you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be hard to pick. I know a lot of them.
Well, see, this is the problem with being on a show with me.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make a decision.
Oh, I will. I just have to.
I made my decision. By the way, an actress told me recently, we were doing a feature film and I was in a scene and I said, "Hi, would you like to run a few lines together just to get ready for the scene?" And she says, "I've made my decision. Whatever crutch you need, you won't find here."
Whoa.
And I went, okay. I don't know what to say about that.
That's not a very generous
And now I find myself
acting partner.
You know, I'll tell you something. The difference between the audition, the change in a person from the audition to the day they shoot is monumental. And you discover a lot about people and how they accept those responsibilities and challenges.
That's true.
And I think a lot of careers are lost early. Like there's a great religious philosopher named Mike Murdoch. He writes these books called Keys to Wisdom and the Wisdom Key, and all these things for the last 60 years he's studied about the world. And he says that if you fail with your life, I can pinpoint it back to one person where the failure began. Mm. And all that failure is a response to disrespect. You will always find disrespect at that moment, and that was your failure. Mm. So I'm always very careful, but I just found it was an interesting thing for someone to say who didn't know I was the executive producer.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. They wouldn't have said that if they'd known that.
No, I don't know if they would or would not, but it made a difference, and I'll never work with them again. And no one I know will work with them again, and that's a fact because
it's also, I mean, that's so counterproductive if you're an actor to have that kind of attitude on set. When you're taking on a role like that, she sounded completely closed off to letting the character or the scene take her somewhere, and that's where you find the magic. When you open up and let it go.
Did you write this expressly for yourself?
I did. Yeah.
And that was why?
Honestly, I mean, it was kind of surprising. I kind of surprised myself that I wrote it for myself because I'd always said I'm not.
Gee, why would you say that?
I always said I was never going to direct myself.
Why?
I don't know. I just was always, I came around on it, but at first.
No, but wait. I want to go back. Why? What movie did you see where some self-aggrandizing, egotistical scumbag directed themselves and ruined the film? Because you had to have seen that. Because it's nothing you just wake up when they go, "I'll never direct me."
I think it's a lot. There's a lot of actors who do it. And
yes,
I
they
think
do, and they screw it up, man.
And yeah, they do. And I think it was just over time I kept seeing it happening, and I was like, I'm not going to be one of those actors who's like, I have to be in my own movie. But then I wrote it, and I was like, I have to play this character. I have to do it. And
Well, what's wrong with
told
that? You
myself,
picked it right. You did it right.
yeah. And I told myself, like, this is going to be a complete crash course, this whole process. And I mean, it was really challenging, but I learned, it was like film school and making that movie. I saw everything from every different angle and like wore every hat. And it was really cool. It was really good for me to go from being the director to like stepping in front of the camera and needing to completely change my mental space, which was super challenging, but I really loved it, actually.
Well, I want to get into that.
I'm one of those actors now.
Well, because I want to talk about that. But see, I never forgot my original question, which was, I'd like you to describe for me the strongest woman you know, because there's something important in that for me. And just something that interests me, which means my audience will be interested as well. Hey, I'm your host, Del Weston. You're listening to the show Interius. My very special guest. Wait for the applause until I say her name, especially you, Letty. You're nothing but a troubled person. Andi Morrow. Now clap. Yeah. Harder. Faster. Perfect. We'll be right back. I have a confession to make, and I'm going to say it now. It's never been made public, but I am going to put it out there for you to understand. I was rejected by a girl in 6th grade. She told me she would not date anyone who looked like me, smelled like me, sounded like me, or walked like me. And I screamed in my pain, how about the taste? Welcome back to the show. I've got the great Andi Morrow with me, and she's not with you, which means I won. How's that make you feel? We're talking about you directing your... Don't giggle at this stuff. See, this is why people get into trouble. You're supposed to dislike someone, and then they weasel their way in. And then he starts making these little jokes. He says, hey, your scowl looks like the most beautiful mask I've ever seen. And then they giggle, right? Like, 'cause that's a pickup line. And then they're like, you can't hate them because you're laughing.
Yeah.
If you're going to hate from within, okay? Let's keep that note going.
Never.
Good. Then just love with your whole heart. Now, you said you didn't want to be a director that directed themselves, because there are a number of actors and performers out there who just ruin productions. Know your lane and stay in it. That's the most beautiful thing you can do.
Yeah.
Mariah Carey. So as you're directing, what did you discover about yourself as an actor while you were doing that film?
I discovered that ego is the biggest obstacle for myself or anybody in terms of giving the character exactly what they need. And I think that's why a lot of actors who direct themselves make crap, because ego. And they do it all because of ego. And that's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to make good art. And as an actor, you have to let go of that ego. I mean, you have to. If you're on set, if you're trying to deliver lines and in your head you're thinking thoughts that come from your ego, then you're not fully doing your job. You're not present. You're not giving the character what it needs. And so as I was directing the project I was also acting on, it was interesting. I found myself having to really strip all that stuff away, of like, okay, but I'm directing. As I'm trying to sit down to act, I'm thinking, does the shot look good? Am I talking to people well? Like, does the other actor know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So I really had to, it was a challenge to really let go of that stuff and like trust myself. And trust the people around me.
The scene in the creek where she goes from euphoria to tears and then to acceptance. Mm-hmm. What was that about?
It's about...
What'd you expect? Easy questions?
No.
How's your cat? Hey, how's your cat? Did you social distance today?
No.
Where's your mask?
I like the tough questions.
Thank you. So let's get to them.
I think that was about that was about acceptance, and it was also about memories. You know, she had a lot going through her head at that moment, and it was painful, and she felt lonely. She felt very alone in that
And
moment.
what life instance did that mimic? The real scene in life?
For myself in particular?
No, for someone else, because they're on the show right now. What's wrong with you? Are you
Um,
slow? I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but I know I'm talking when it becomes you
hey. Well, for me in particular, that scene.
Look how fast it turns. I can only ask from your perspective, and let me tell you why I asked that question. Okay. As a director, we know that every story you will tell, even if it's someone else's, is autobiographical. We know that, right? And I know that you have to, in order to reach those emotions and do what you did, because there's nothing inauthentic about the performance. Okay. And when I saw it, I said, man, what must have happened to get her to be able to reach these depths? Because I've worked with thousands of people over the last 30 years. I mean, I've done film for TV and wide release and everything I've done. To find someone who can do what you did is rare, because they're all talking about sense memories from things they've imagined, not actual events. And so I was trying to figure out what's the event. And if you don't mind sharing, I would like, not someone else's experience, but yours.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for that stupid comment when I said, I'm not sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I can handle it. It's fine.
I know you can. And I love that you flipped me off. It reminded me of my fourth ex-wife, who's still doing that.
So that's a big compliment. So thank you. I love what I do. And so
you know what pisses me off about you already? I'm sorry, I got to put this out there.
What?
Because you know what you are, right? And I know what you are. So let's not go lower than that. Right?
What are you talking about? When did I go lower than that?
Okay, listen. Well, because I don't want you.
Let's do it, Dill. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it, because when I ask someone a question, like because I do a lot of people, you can tell right away you're so kind and self-effacing and so genuine that it's hard for you to accept the compliment that I was trying to give you. So I come back.
Oh yeah, and I'm Southern.
And you're Southern, but that's a whole other thing, Well, I'm just saying. I said I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to not get the genuine you immediately, because I just want to let people know just how special I think you are, because I barely know you. Okay, fair. But there's something there. I see what you're saying. And I think that a lot of people in the industry refer to it as the it factor, right? And when people it's a funny story. Mark Ruffalo's great. He don't like me, and I'm not really a fan, but he came to our show one year. And I don't really tell this story, but it's kind of funny. He came to our show and said, hey, after this movie, I said, Mr. Ruffalo, there's some fans that want us to take a few pictures. Would you mind? He said, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. I said, okay, no problem. Have a nice night. And I walked away. So I went to this girl, very attractive girl. I said, do me a favor, go ask him to take a few pictures. He's on the carpet for the next 90 minutes taking pictures. It's the funniest thing. Then I took him all over to a sushi restaurant, bought everybody dinner. But what happened was, why did I have to go through that first initial step of being rejected when he was full well ready to go meet people and take pictures? Was it just the ego that would not allow this giant in front of him? Because there's a picture of him and me, and like I'm way up here. And so maybe he was offended, or I don't know what it was, but it was a no. And I'm like, dude, you want to do it. You're going to hang out, and I'm going to take you all to a nice, beautiful place for dinner. You can do whatever you want. God bless all of you. Yeah. But we had to go to that step to get to it. And then I had to do something stupid to get him. Yeah, and I don't want to go through that, because the guy, he's a supremely talented guy, right? Yeah, he's not a faker. The guy is a real talented human being. He's on another level. So I don't want to skip past the silly. I want to go right past it and get to it. So I'm sorry for my abrupt nature and attitude. That's okay. I like it. I like knowing where I stand with people. So what was the scene in your life that got you to that ability in the film scene? That one in particular, I guess it was a culmination of past experiences, but and people like understanding other people's past experiences, because that character is based on a few different people, but that
that particular moment of reaching that emotion was probably was from the year and a half before I had gone through a really bad depression,
Mm-hmm.
really bad. And I had, had to, as anyone does, it was scary. It was hard.
Oh yeah,
You feel lonely when you're in that
of
place,
course.
that dark place. And it was, I guess I drew inspiration mostly from that, just because it was very fresh still. Having come out of that not too long before the filming. Actually, filming that movie was the last thing that helped me, I feel like, climb out of that hole.
Do you
That was,
think you'll ever return to that place?
um, I don't know. I mean, probably. I think everybody has that potential too, but I know how to deal with it a little better than I did last time.
Is there some type of advice that you would give others who might be in that situation and circumstance? Because the world has changed so much so quickly that
Mhm.
I truly believe that I think the greatest sin that I see happening right now is that the lives of people who've never lived are being destroyed before they have a chance to explore them and to experience them.
Yeah,
It's just
definitely.
it's like some type of vampire just sucking the life out of this
Hmm.
younger generation and causing them to turn
I
in
agree.
ways that they don't even understand. Like I see these people out marching and things, and I'm going, do you know what you're really marching for? And are
Mhm.
you being used by someone else? And by the way, how much of your essence is going into that as opposed to creating? And it hurts because
Yeah.
my kids are getting into that age. And my
Hmm.
daughter said to me one day, why are they so unfair? And I said, why is who unfair? And she pointed at one particular group. And I said, why do you think they're unfair? And she said, because they are. I said, but let's go back. Let's find out why you think that. And then we unraveled it over the next few days. And she's like, oh, I get it. I said, what, baby? She said, everybody just wants what they want.
Hmm.
And if I lose my life in the process, they don't care. I said, right. Now you're understanding life. Now you're
Hmm.
beginning to get the essence of why the greatest part of you is being taken from you and you don't even know it. And I think
Yeah,
that's
I
what it's,
think technology is the biggest thing to blame for that, in
yeah.
my opinion. They're all getting their faces stuck in screens from even earlier and earlier every year. And I think that they're losing their connection to nature, their connection to each other, their connection to their own senses. They're not
Mm-hmm,
able to like
mm-hmm.
experience the world through their senses. They're experiencing it just through a screen. So I think that that's the most detrimental thing to the younger generation, and I feel very sad for them.
How important has being attractive been in your career to you?
um, I guess it was more important to me when I was younger, for sure.
Why when you were younger?
Just because, I mean, that's that at an impressionable age, as a woman, you're told you have to look a certain way, you have
Mm-hmm.
to be a certain way. And I grew up in Appalachia. So when I moved out of Appalachia and started experiencing the world and the industry in the world, I was so
Mm-hmm.
hungry to experience it all.
Mm-hmm.
I was being told quite often, like, you shouldn't let people know you're from Appalachia. You
Why?
should
Why is that?
lose your accent. You should act a certain way.
Have you lost your accent?
Um, I
Or should I
have,
ask
but
the real question? Have you murdered your accent?
I haven't murdered it.
Are you sure?
Um,
Because I don't hear it. I know
well,
I heard it in the film, but I don't hear it now.
I
And I'm
have
thinking
a
somebody died in between me watching this film and her coming on this show.
no, it's there. I'm a code switcher. People in Appalachia, actually from Appalachia in particular, are the best code switchers because
What?
we have.
Tell me what a code switcher is,
That
please.
means you change your accent based on who you're talking to. So like
Okay, so
if you were Appalachian, if you had a Southern accent right now, it would start really coming out.
got it.
And I think it has to do with vulnerability and like protection. I've told people. So when I moved to New York, I had a lot of industry people that I went through a phase where I was like, well, fuck this. I'm proud of where I'm from. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
why
going to
wouldn't you
wear
be?
it. I'm going to wear it on my sleeve, and was almost
Yeah,
like a punk rocker about it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I was like, no, I'm Appalachian. That's like the first thing I would bring up. And I would watch these these gatekeepers like recoil or immediately have an opinion of me
Why do you
as
think that?
being stupid,
Why do you think they
or
did that? Why do you think they did that?
because they don't understand our region.
Oh,
They have an idea, because Hollywood in general has been mostly to blame with the image the world has about our region, because they've shown us as toothless, ignorant hillbillies who are inbred in everything that's out there. Or now it's all, they're all on drugs, which that's a hell of a thing for me to say. But
are they really all on drugs now?
no, not any more than
Any
any other
other
rich
demographic?
region.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that we have going, the negative thing we have going against us is that people already had a negative bias against us. They already had these ideas in their head about us. And so adding addiction onto these communities, which is more devastating to our communities because they're smaller. And we already didn't have resources,
Mm-hmm.
we already were struggling in our communities to get basic resources and get people to actually pay attention to us and our problems, or help us and support us. So adding addiction on top of that, it's just this combination of two things that makes people have even worse of opinion about us.
Well, on that note, we're going to take our second break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the blue-skinned Appalachians.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I want to talk about that is because I dated one for a while.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting.
When I was done with her, she was like bright pink. Amazing. I'm Del Weston. You're listening to Interius. My guest today is the magnificent Andi Morrow, who I'm discovering kind of likes me. And I know because the back of my head is glowing yellow. I got a message from one of my producers in the break there, and they said I need to apologize for using the term blue-skinned Appalachians. The proper term is the Cyans. So I'm going to take that back. Hey, what is it with that? Is that real?
Wait, what part?
The blue-skin part.
Yeah,
What is that about? Tell me what that's about.
I've never met any there. I don't know that there are anymore. But I mean, back in, I guess, like the early 1900s through like the 40s, around the 1940s, they started doing a lot of research on these people. There was one particular family in Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, that was among the last of the blue people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
they started doing a lot of experiments on them, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
And they discovered that it's just a blood disorder, that it causes their blood is thicker than other people's.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, it coagulates a lot more, and their skin is, as a result, looks blue. Which is wild. It's crazy. I wish I could have seen it in person, but they actually had a really, really hard life. Blue people had really, really hard lives in Appalachia. They were honestly, some accounts I've read, they were treated worse than Black people. Because people thought that they were diseased.
I think people thought they were evil.
They thought they were evil. They thought they were witches. They thought they were diseased. They thought if I get around them, I'm going to turn blue and get this horrible disease. And they were already living in, Appalachia, which was not easy.
Well, I told you, I dated a blue girl for a while.
Is that real? You did?
Yeah. Part of me became a nightlight for like a year and a half. It was amazing. So, listen, I warned you like 30 minutes ago not to laugh at this stuff. I told you not to, and here you go.
What do you miss? One, though.
What do you miss most? Well, hey, who do you think you are? What do you miss? By the way, I'm great at parties. It's weird.
I bet.
People used to rent me to go to parties, and then I would like go to just start little balls of fun, and they say get out after it was over.
Yeah,
so I never get like to the dessert round, but the first entree and the hors d'oeuvre, I was in, man.
That's a good job.
What do you miss most about Appalachia?
Um, oh man, I miss.
Just the top stuff.
Okay, let me think.
Because I'm talking to a genius level person, and she doesn't want anybody to know what she is. See, this is a funny thing because you're this enigma. I love it. The Appalachia stuff, the whatever stuff you were mentioning that goes along with it, but the person and the talent, there's something different. There's a switch that's being flipped, and I think it's just magnificent. What do you miss most about Appalachia?
I miss my family a lot.
Now, do they support you in what you're doing?
They do. They have always supported my dreams, which I feel very grateful for. That we have our differences, we have a lot of differences, I think, because I'm the only one who's ever left my hometown. So I just have a different way of looking at things.
Is there a bed waiting for you should you have to go back?
Oh, always.
Will you go back?
Always. Maybe one day. I don't know. I think I'll die in Appalachia. But I don't know when, because whenever I go back, I get people from our region who have moved away. We have this really intense double life inside of us, where half of us is always in Appalachia and we always want to be there.
Right.
And the other half is like, I have to get out of here. So it was like you're pulling yourself apart in the middle, basically. So
I had a marriage like that once.
well, I guess that can be like that too. Relationships can do that to you. But
But you put her in a pair of jeans, man, I couldn't leave. Oh my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Baby's got her blue jeans on.
Well,
but
I don't want to sound gross, but I will say this. People would give her money at swap meets. But we weren't selling anything.
Wow.
And so every Sunday, we get dressed, we go to the swap meet. I come back with like $900,000. And one day she said, that money belongs to me. And I realized she was right.
Yeah.
I said, well, everything you've earned for the last 6 months is over there on the counter. It's in the box. And if you can get to it before I take it and leave, it's more than welcome to have it. Now, the problem was the jeans were so tight she couldn't move fast. So I beat her easy. I took the money and left.
Lord.
So you're halfway in Appalachia. You're halfway got to get out of Appalachia. I know what you love about it. What did you hate about it?
I hated the lack of opportunity. From the time I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor. It was like the only thing I ever wanted to be. And so
how did you know that?
My mom bought me a lot of Shirley Temple movies when I was a kid. And I loved Barney, the TV show Barney, which had a bunch of kids on it. Full House, child actors. So I just saw a lot of my favorite things to watch were child actors. And my mom, would tell me about, because my mom used to do theater a little bit when she was younger. And so she would, tell me about the job and what it is. And I was just like, that's what I want to do.
It's hard to ask this because it's hard for everyone to understand, but I was doing a really big film with a really, really, really big star. And something happened on the set between that person and me. And when it happened, there was a transition in me. Something just went click. I don't know what it was, but I knew the dream would be fulfilled in whatever I chose to do in this industry. What was your best moment, your transition moment on set? Because there's always one. Something had to happen there where you went, oh, there it is. Can you tell me what that was like for you when it happened?
It's probably, I would say that moment was actually on stage. and it happened my senior year of college.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you go to college?
I went to Maryville College, which is it's a small liberal arts school in the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee.
I would expect nothing less.
And I hit the ground running when I got to college. I was like, I got to have a lot of time to make up for. I didn't get to do any acting or theater before.
Were you the golden child as a child, or was there someone else who was the golden child?
I was the baby and the only girl, so I was definitely.
No. I mean in the community, the golden child, not the family, but in the community. Or was it that little half blue girl with a nice jawline and the pretty shoes?
I guess I was kind of a golden child in some way. I mean, I was a troublemaker in high school. I got into some trouble, but I played soccer, and I was.
Were you voted valedictorian?
No, you don't get voted.
Were you the homecoming queen?
I was not.
I did
not care about that.
I didn't ask you what you cared about. See, I'm asking about what happened.
No, I was not.
Because if we know what happened, because this is very important. You're so young.
I was the class president.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. That's just a kid who was second less popular than the cheerleading. Because I married the cheerleader.
MVP of the soccer team.
Well, again, that ain't it. So let's be clear. What I'm trying to get to is that you did not peak. And so many people who are creative and wonderful and fantastic who come to LA to win, they've already peaked before they got here.
Yeah.
They were the class, the valedictorian, they were the queen of the court, they were this, they were with the football player and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I find a lot of those people, they peaked, and when they get up here or they come to LA and start, they're already trending down because their greatest success has already occurred. And so I'd like to hear when people were not those people, per se, right?
Yeah.
Where did you get your confidence, do you think?
I mean, I've been working on that for a while. I played a lot of sports. I played a lot of soccer, and I was really good at it. And so that helped, having something that you're really good at.
Absolutely.
That obviously helped me. And I played in college as well. Mm-hmm. But when I got to college, I was very insecure about, I was at a very good school, and there were a lot of really smart kids around me, and kids.
Were you intimidated by them?
In terms of like in the classroom, yeah. And I hit it.
Academically, you're saying?
Academically, yes. In the theater, I was at first, but then I got over that pretty quickly because I was like, I want this more than anybody else here. And I started getting cast immediately in leading roles. And so that helped. It was being validated.
Why do you think you doubted yourself at all?
I mean, why does anybody ever doubt themselves?
I'm not talking, again, I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to you.
Okay.
You will not desecrate the memory of this podcast.
Well, there was some particular instances, like whenever when I played club soccer starting sixth grade, all through high school, which was competitive traveling soccer. And my mom would have to drive me an hour and a half to Knoxville, the city closest to us. Yeah. And we did that for all those years. And so I was playing soccer on teams with all these girls from really big schools in Knoxville. A lot of them were very wealthy. And so that started a little bit of a like, oh, they have experienced more, their education's better. I started seeing where I was behind somewhat.
Okay.
I mean, it probably made me better at soccer though, because I was like, well, fuck them.
So LA must have been LA and New York must have been a complete and total shock to you.
Yeah. Honestly, New York was my training ground, and personally and professionally, I would say. I call it my New York skin that I gained there. I mean, I'm so much tougher after living in New York. I'm so glad I went to New York before I came to LA.
What'd you learn?
Oh man, I learned to say no and don't feel bad about it. Trust your instincts.
Wait. Huh? What you just said? You learned how to say no and not feel bad about it. Who wanted you to feel bad?
Well, when you're a woman, I mean, that's how you're raised. You're raised to like appease people and to.
Just women are raised that way?
More than men, yes.
You think so?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Really?
Ask any woman. Yes.
How would a woman know what a man's experience is?
I mean, we don't, but how
That's
would
exactly
you
right.
know?
You're correct.
But
You don't know.
But I've talked to men and women.
I could never speak for how and what a woman would feel, because when I had my sex change operation, they took my vajayjay out and put in a
Yeah.
little peanut. And
Mm-hmm.
so I used to know how women felt, but now I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But are you sure that it's not just women who are made to feel that they need to appease and go along to get along? Are you sure about that?
Well, I'm sure that there are some men who have been raised by parents who have taught them that. But I think for the most part, our society tells women we need to be giving.
You don't think that's natural just
We don't
between the
need to
genders?
push back. No,
Who would tell you that? Who would?
I think
Let
it's
me
a
tell you something.
societal thing. Well, it's not necessarily telling. It's the way you are treated when you are an assertive, aggressive woman. It's different.
Like who? I love assertive, aggressive women.
I
Are you kidding me?
understand that, but a lot of people
Do you know that
don't.
99.9% of any decision a man makes is based on the woman he's with and her morals and ethics and desires and needs? Because he knows that once I go out and open my fat, stupid mouth, she's going to get the brunt of it. So I better talk to her first, because I don't want to have an unhappy home.
Well, that's a smart man.
Well, that's most men, period. And I
just know that, I mean,
listen, when they gave me the peanut, they gave me a larger size model brain.
Yeah.
Right? Because the one that I had was wholly inadequate, because I was in the middle. I wasn't quite one or the other, so they made a decision. This brain, which I heard weighs in excess of 6 ounces. Yeah, I'm one of the tops. Lets me know that there are some differences between male and female. Mm-hmm. And so I also know that I have a little girl, a daughter, who looks at me in a way that I have never been looked at before in my life. Mm. And if a man were to harm her or to hurt her, I would inflict the same pain on him and his. So it's incumbent upon me to make sure that she's protected so that she can live in a way where she's not kowtowing, bowing, scraping, begging, taking sexual abuse from someone and having to just stand there and take it, which I've seen before. And I just, Yeah. So I fight against that.
Yeah, I understand. And that's great.
But
I think a lot of what I'm talking about
I love how you dismiss me. I understand all that. That's just great. F you and your stupid story about your kid.
No,
that's anecdotal. We don't take anecdotal. Wow, man.
We have a particular, we're cutting through the bullshit here, Del.
I love it. You go, girl. You tell me. Put me in my place.
But what I'm talking about in general is not just in terms of being told that by society. It's not just something that affects women. What I'm talking about, it goes both ways. Mm-hmm. Our society has told men that they have to be the stronger, the wiser, the smarter, they have to be on top, basically. And
is that what society tells you?
Oh yeah, come on,
baby girl. Listen, with no insult when I say that. Listen, if you knew the fear that men go into every day with.
I'm not talking about how people feel internally. I'm talking about societal pressure to
just not give in and fail, to just not turn from your children or your family. That's a heavy, heavy pressure.
I understand that. And that's why I think that this societal pressure that we've put on each gender, our internal fears make us oftentimes do things and treat people in a certain way based on things that we're not even really aware of.
Would you take care of him? Would you take care of a man? Would you take care of a man and support a man?
Yeah, I would love to.
So he don't have to work or anything. You just, hey, whatever, you do it.
I mean, if I was making a lot of money.
Well, listen, I require a certain standard of living, so you better get another job. Basically what I'm saying. If you're going to hold the mindset that you're taking everything, Jesus, take the wheel. That's good. Let her drive. I think you'd find more men to say, you want to go fight in Afghanistan? Have at it. Have a nice day. I'm
Well,
gonna go have a beer by the pool.
I'm not talking about going to war.
Oh no, don't be one of those. You gotta. Men
I
are
don't want
built
to go
for,
to war.
but men are built for war.
I think if people want to be in the military,
Men are built for
both
war.
sexes like go for it. I don't want to.
Just not you.
I don't want to be in the war. I'm talking about like when I like get my first big blockbuster role or recurring TV role.
How soon do you think that'll be?
I don't know. I don't know. This industry's so weird. That's why I started making my own shit.
Mm-hmm.
I was like tired of
what's next for
waiting for people.
What are you doing next?
Well, I'm waiting for the industry to open back up, but
Can you afford to wait for the industry to open back up?
Right. I'm okay. I'm okay right now.
You ever see that there's a film called The Girlfriend? I think it's called The Girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
This guy went out and raised $3-4 million and made this film. Beautiful movie. Oh, the woman who starred in it ended up on the series Westworld on HBO, and she got some big movies from it. She doesn't have an inkling of your talent. And I just wonder when you say I'm waiting for the industry, because someone else told me that recently. I was on a set doing this movie in LA a couple of months ago, and this girl who I've known for years, very attractive girl, but her voice, because she's from a foreign country, does not lend itself to roles in major films. I think she thinks that, if you get breast implants and wear tight skirts, that the guys will notice you and that's good enough. I'm like, sweetheart, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
And she says, don't ever call me sweetheart again. I said, what would you prefer? She said, love puppy. I said, okay, that's fine. Yeah, you'll shake your head. You know it's true. So my point was, she said, I'll wait for Hollywood to rediscover me. And I went, ugh. And with the kind of talent you have that's been shown in this piece, I just wonder if you creating and producing your own thing like this is exactly what is necessary.
Yeah. I think the industry's changing towards that. And some of my favorite creators right now are women who have done that themselves. They've created their own way because they were creating and producing and acting and telling their own stories. And that is what I want to do. And I'm writing things. I'm working on a feature film script and working on a TV pilot.
Good.
So I've learned what I learned from this movie, from making this movie, is that I am not happy when I'm not creating. No matter what kind of work I'm getting as an actor, I'm not happy unless I'm creating. That's just who I am. And I need to be telling my own stories. And I have also discovered that the industry is not the be all end all for what kind of career or what kind of life you're going to have. Yeah.
I think that people get trapped thinking that certain things would make them or break them. And
I think that that's why one of the reasons why I ended up in the major depression that I did is because I had lost sight of myself as a creator, and I wasn't doing that. I was just so focused on like, okay, now I have to book a co-star role. I have to book a co-star role. That's the next thing that has to happen. I have to get an agent. I have to get a manager. I have to do this. I have to do that. And it was all waiting on other people in the industry to validate me or to give me permission to do things. And it's forcing it. And like nothing comes of it when you force it. And I wasn't being authentic.
But if you're creative, you can't help but sometimes force it to make it happen. And that's a dangerous territory, because sometimes in the forcing of a thing, you break it. It cannot bear the weight of what you're attempting to create, the greatness you're attempting to create.
Yeah.
And so what you find yourself doing is damaging. But without that urgency and that need to create, you fail completely.
Mm-hmm.
So even creating and failing, but learning a lesson toward the next creation is better than to say, well, I won't do anything because I don't want to rush it.
Absolutely.
And I don't know. I understand the mood and the attitude, because I've created since I was a child. I mean, I don't know how not to create. People are, well, why are you doing magazines? Why are you doing books? You're making movies. Where's that new TV show? And I'm like, I can't stop. You don't understand. It's not me. I can't stop. And if you try to make me stop, or if I run out of money, which I have in the past, I mean, going from great heights to falling down to nothing. When you think you've got a show on network and everything is great, and it's working in the first year, you're getting paid, you're going, Jesus, this is good. And then it's gone a year later. You're, what just happened? And it was no fault of your own. It was just the project could not bear the weight of what was going on. So it can be depressing. I had asked you 2 questions earlier that I'm going to get to before we end, but is there anything we've not spoken about that you'd like the world to know about?
I don't know. I want everyone to know that if they're feeling sad and lonely right now and scared, you're not alone. We all are. It's hard times.
You think we're alone?
I think people feel alone.
You don't think we've experienced this before?
Not at this level.
Oh, please, come on.
This I haven't.
That's the problem with
my generation hasn't.
Well, the world is not made about your generation or my generation. It's been about all the generations.
But what's going on now is energy feeds off of other energy, and right now the entire world is feeling a lot of fear and anxiety.
But do you know why that is? And do you think we've ever been here before?
I mean, I'm sure as a world, yes, we have been here before.
Yes, we have, and
we'll get through it. I just want to tell people.
Well, we're gonna get through it. Not only are we gonna get through it, I think we should thrive out of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of great art is gonna come out of it.
And I think a lot of people are gonna recognize what's truly important on the other side of this thing.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna finally see that maybe that Portia was not the answer. I'm no longer happier than I would be with my children were sitting with me or my wife, whom I love.
Yeah.
But that little 19-year-old actress I met led me away, and now I can't see her because she's in quarantine. Or at Dell's house. We can't figure it out where she is.
Tisk. Hey,
you're going to tell me not to offer refuge to people who are hurting? You're disgusting. I asked you earlier, who could you describe the strongest woman you knew for me? Can we end with that? Would you mind?
Yeah, the strongest woman I know she's Appalachian. She's a mother, a grandmother. She was a teacher for a while. And she just in general has always had a sense of faith and love about her that I find to be very strong, even though some really hard things have happened for her in her life. She saw a son go to prison. She's raising her granddaughter. Through all that, she's always putting she's always making people feel like she's there to support them through their problems. And I just find that to be so strong and beautiful, like to be able to deal with all the things that she's dealt with and not fall apart. And still be like such a source of strength for so many other people. Like her entire community feels that way about her. And she exudes love.
That is so beautiful. Yeah. A lot of times in the world, you find people who do shows like this and they put on an act and they pretend to be something when the camera is on, but in real life, they're a different person. And I just want to make sure you understand that I'm as much a dick in real life as I am on this show. Just so you were clear. So there's no mistaking that.
Noted.
That's number one. And how do people get in touch with you? How do we find you and your work?
Well, I have a website. It's andimorrow.com, and it's Andy with an I and Morrow, like tomorrow.
Okay, I'll put that under your title, andimorrow.com. Great.
And then I'm on Instagram, Honky Tonk Andy, and Twitter, Andy with an I, EYE. So that's basically how you keep up with me. I post music stuff on Instagram. And
now you notice that I did not ask you to play, but I am going to ask you to come back after the festival and interview with me again and actually play and hear something.
Okay.
I might even ask you to come to the show if you're coming and then perform at one of the events.
To the festival?
Yeah, because it might be nice to say, ladies and gentlemen, the musical stylings of Andi Morrow.
I'll play.
Oh, well, then I say it's a date.
All right, let's do it. I'm gonna meet you at the festival,
don't you
right?
ever hump jump my outro again.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Interius with Weston, sister. Anything else you want to yap about before I close this thing off like a
no, I'm done.
Cord on a fresh baby?
I'm done.
Thank God. Audience, they say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I would like to correct that fallacy. Beauty rests and remains solely in the eyes, the face, the heart, the smile, and the soul of this talented creator, Andi Morrow. You're listening to Interius. I'm your host, Weston. We'll catch you next time. Thank you for listening.
Forever, you're my reality.